point that Mel raises is materially different than what I'm addressing as part of my concern. That needs to be addressed before we really can move forward. I think that's the material issue.
See, I think
I'm addressing
your
a
issue
totally
too on
different
liability.
issue.
I'd be interested in hearing. I'd be interested in hearing some sort of legal opinion on by us signing these. And I know Jerry said it's been done forever. It's been done since I've been on the board.
That doesn't necessarily make it right.
I know, but I'd like that's right, and I'd like to look at what.
Well, look.
We are the district. This is how I look at it. We're the school district. If we can be sued as a school committee representing the district by anyone, a vendor can come and say, hey, you didn't pay us right, and they'll sue the district, which in effect is us, the school committee, representing that district. We would then go through the appropriate channels to correct the error so that, but we do this because we sign off, we are the district and we sign off on it. It's like the head of my office, a nonprofit, the chief operating officer signs off on everything that may not be involved in every little piece. I'm bringing up a private corporation issue.
But the chief operating officer is active in the corporate role on a daily basis.
No.
You're a board that is not. No, a chief operating officer is, actually.
Well, not my chief operating officer.
All right, look, let's do this. We have a policy subcommittee meeting scheduled for February 28th. Can we get that on the agenda?
It's been
Not on the
rescheduled to
28th.
March.
To March? Can we get it on the agenda for that meeting? Take a look at it. All right. Unless somebody wants to make a motion and go with a second, I think it might make sense to table this until we have a chance to look at it again.
I'd rather look at the whole thing.
Okay.
From us signing. This
is a whole different discussion going back and looking
well, right.
at that.
That's why I would.
That is a different issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's
Thank
my
you.
issue with it.
I'd just like to clarify the work that needs to go forward on this. You would like a legal opinion about the liability of the school committee for signing the warrant
Liability and the necessity
and the necessity.
of signing it.
And I guess that would come from someplace in the state, right?
Yeah, I would think it would be a statutory or a regulation,
Right.
possibly a regulation.
Well, we can also ask MASC about the role of the school committee and why we do this. And I recall from the chartering course and our documentation that we were supposed to do this because it was a sign of the district approving warrants.
And the second
So-
question, Kathy, would be whether or not you have the authority to sign if we're unavailable. Okay, so if I don't hear a motion, we're going to table it. Okay, it's tabled.
Thank you.
Our next policy is again under fiscal management. It's DK, and this is another one that I had some questions on. But yeah, this involves student activity funds, and this is a difficult area, and I appreciate the fact we're trying to address some of these issues. Let me. You guys have all had an opportunity to read it, right?
Yes.
All right. Just for clarification for the public, it won't take long. This is entitled Student Activities Funds. Student funds may be raised to finance the activities of authorized student organizations. Student activity funds are considered a part of the total fiscal operation of the district and are subject to policies established by the school committee and the superintendent of schools. This fund shall be managed in accordance with sound business practices, which include accepted budgetary and accounting practices. And then as an amendment, we're classifying active accounts, okay? The school committee, 1, authorizes the principals to accept money for recognized student activity organizations which currently exist or, as from time to time, may be revised. 2, authorizes the town treasurer to establish and maintain a student activity agency account or accounts which is to be audited as part of the town's annual audit. The interest that is earned on such accounts shall be maintained in the agency account and distributed annually among the student activity checking accounts as directed by the regulations established by school committee policy. 3, authorizes student activity checking accounts for use by the principals with specific maximum balances established for each school by school committee policy. And 4, directs principals to provide the treasurer with a bond in an amount agreeable to the treasurer. Now, the amendment that we're inserting here is that class accounts at graduation, okay? Class accounts are established to benefit students currently enrolled in the school system. Once a class of students graduates, the school district is no longer responsible for these monies. Class accounts shall remain open for 60 days after graduation to ensure that all outstanding bills can be paid. Upon completion of the 60 days, the designated student treasurer shall take action to establish a separate bank account not under the jurisdiction of the school department. Inactive accounts. Any student activity organization active for a period of 3 years or more and for which there's been no receipts or disbursements recorded on their behalf shall require the following to be closed. 1, written notification by the advisor or student officer treasurer to the principal or other authorized administrator that the particular activity will cease to be a viable account. If an advisor or student officer treasurer is not available, such discontinuance shall be by the vote of the school committee. 2, all assets recognized under school activity organization shall be determined and stated in writing. And 3, any disposition of assets of an inactive recognized student activity organization shall be determined by the school committee, but no case shall the disposition benefit specific individuals. And in parentheses, the primary goal and disposition shall be to benefit the student body. For accounts with limits that exceed $25,000 an audit will be conducted by an outside accounting firm every 2 to 3 years. Cliff, Mike, you guys want to comment on the proposed changes?
Well, this is actually something that was requested by Carl.
I can
And
understand
I think I'll
why.
let him address the specifics of it, because I think what we have is things age and kind of hang around, and you don't know what to do with them after a while.
Background to this is the assistant principal informed me that there were numerous student activity accounts that were laying fallow, going back to like the 60s. What happens is, classes raise money for dances or for class gifts, things of that nature, and then oftentimes they graduate, and there is no party any longer involved with managing or controlling these funds. It's not just each graduating class, but there are clubs that have been formulated over the years, Frisbee Club, or whatever, and then those clubs die and aren't continued. So that there's small pockets of money existing in numerous accounts that aren't being used for any purpose, and the high school administration does not have the authority to expend those funds because they were generated for a given purpose. So when he raised this issue with me, I contacted the Department of Education, Department of DESE, and they sent me sample policy and made a recommendation. They had worked with the State Department of Revenue on language that you see here, and they encourage school committees to enact a policy that allows for, you might call the natural closure of these accounts at a point in time. Second point I mention is there's not a lot of money involved here, but what will happen is the high school administration will work with the senior class treasurer and ask that class treasurer to set up a private bank account outside the control of the school that would be used for future class reunions, something of that nature. But the point is, it's no longer school money once the class graduates. That's the background.
Who's the designee on the accounts, Kyle? And when the accounts are opened, or wherever they're open, are they at banks, are they with the school, or is there a...
Well, these are
name?
interesting because they're hybrid accounts. The school committee and the school administration does not have fiduciary responsibility over these accounts. It's a strange hybrid in the law. It is the town's treasurer. So all student activity accounts are under the aegis of the municipality's treasurer. Not just in North Reading, that's a state law. So in practice, the high school administration literally works directly with the school treasurer on the formation of these accounts at the bank account that the treasurer so designates.
And so nobody in the school department has a name on the account, or is nobody in the school department is a holder of the account?
The only involvement that the school department has is the class advisor initials it, approves an invoice. Let's say it's for a prom or whatever it may be. Yeah. They send it over to the school department because the treasurer in North Reading happens to ask that someone in the central office also review they don't have to, but they do. So I also initial it. It does not go through your warrant process because you do not have that responsibility. So it goes directly to the town treasurer at that stage.
Mel?
So we have a policy today where the town treasurer is in charge of these accounts?
I wouldn't say we have a policy. Mass general laws require.
But I mean, we have that because what I've seen through my experience with the high school is that this read like fiction to me when I read this, because there was, in a lot of cases, there's very little accounting of money that comes in to the different clubs, groups, etc. And my experience is a lot of times the money gets thrown in a safe somewhere. There's no wrongdoing going on here. It's just there's no accounting. And I was hoping that this was going to address that, because there's a lot of money that's collected that I'm not sure is being accounted for properly. And I've seen situations where certain clubs and groups thought they had a certain amount of money left according to their records, and according to someone else's records, they didn't. And it's a mess. It's no one's fault. It's a mess, is what it is. And I don't understand the town treasurer's role, because I've never seen the town treasurer involved in anything that I've been involved with at the high school.
Yeah, and I was no mean trying to criticize the town treasurer.
No,
in
no,
my
I'm not
description,
either.
yeah.
I'm just saying I don't
Yeah.
see this being enforced.
Yeah, well, you're raising operating issues, which is in effect a different subject from what we're discussing, and that's something perhaps administration needs to review if we have concerns about the mechanism by which cash is collected at Maskers Club or I don't want to use an example, but
No, but
whatever
any
it is.
club, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have policies and regulations on that now, Kyle? I thought there was something that addressed,
I don't know if there's a school committee policy on
how about a
student activities.
regulation or even a?
Again, it's a hybrid sort of situation. Forgive me for not remembering whether school committee has policy over student activities accounts. I don't really think you'll find that because of what I said. The MGL laws have, the town municipality have responsibility over not the operational activities, but the holding of the funds, almost a treasury function.
Well, let me give you an example. For 2 years, my daughter was president of, I think it's called Students Against Race. What is it called? Students Against Racism. Just right. And for 2 years, she and the club members sponsored a concert that they had at Ipswich River Park to raise funds to go to some group. Those funds went to my daughter's pocket, then to my pocket, and then I wrote a check to the that shouldn't happen.
No.
Whether it's a policy or something else, that just shouldn't happen.
What are the limits
Kyle,
here?
would you order an audit of Mel and his daughter? Determination of where those funds are.
Well,
I can show you the receipts from the group that got
well,
them, but-
see, these are, again, we're now talking operational issues.
correct, but shouldn't the policy address that?
Well, I don't know, well, with all respect, I'm not sure policies tend to involve procedure in operations. I would think that if you or other members have concerns about the manner in which certain student activities are operating at the high school, that's something that the school administration needs to address. The policy that you're contemplating is really a closure issue. I don't mean to, I can't respond to
No, but-
that, what you're saying there without further research.
I'd like to see the evidence. I don't understand, what is the town treasurer involved in? Whether it's this town treasurer or the town treasurer 30 years ago. I've never seen any evidence of that, so I don't.
The town treasurer is the ultimate responsibility, working under the selectmen, to provide the treasury function, the safekeeping of funds and the disbursement of funds. I think that the background to why schools, and I want to emphasize, it's not just North Reading, the background to why school districts do not have student activity managerial responsibilities is based on some awful things that happened several decades ago, whereby the great and general wisdom of the general court decided that let's remove the responsibility from school districts and move it to the treasurer in hopes that there would be a different kind of safekeeping. I can't do much better than that. I think that was probably 20 or more years ago.
Well, this is always a sticky issue. It's one of those things that kind of, I don't want to say slips between the cracks, but something that's not addressed. Based on the recommended policy of after 60 days notifying the class treasurer, et cetera, it seems like it's not within the school district's responsibility or oversight to disperse those funds. You're essentially saying we're going to turn this over to the class or the group that collected the money.
No, it's saying we're turning it over to one person. That's
Well,
another thing I don't
that
understand.
person represents the class,
Correct,
okay,
but
or
they-
represents the organization.
They raise that money as part of a class at the school to do things for the school, correct?
Yep.
And then we have no control over, so say there's $5,000 left, there probably wouldn't be that much
Yeah.
money. We're just saying, here's your $5,000.
Well, they raised, it's their money.
But it was part of the school.
If I may,
No
what the
contract.
practice would be that the vice principal, who has, I think, the